Hello, guys, and we are live. So, another Thursday, so another time for our reading sprints. So, in case there's somebody here who hasn't been to one of my reading sprints yet, so we do 2 hours of reading in a period of 3 hours, meaning that we will do three reading sprints of 40 minutes and then 20 minutes chatty bits in between, 10 minutes in the beginning and the end. So, I am currently reading three books, but I will only be reading one of them during these sprints. I am still in the middle of War and Peace, which I will be all year. So that's a useless update, I guess. But I actually still have to read my chapter for today, but I'm going to do that after sprints. And then I am reading Feet and Silence by Lee Mandela, which is an arc coming out in March. But then I'm reading on my commute. And now what I will be reading is Sorrow and Bliss. I'm right in front of my own camera. Where? Coordination. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason, which is a general fiction, which was shortlisted for the Women's Prize and the Booker Prize, I think, as well in 2022. So, which I actually didn't really know. Like, I knew it was a book about depression, and so it was a book that I was actually basically like kind of procrastinating on. But then yesterday I was looking for an audiobook because I have a lot of neck pain at the moment, and you will mainly see me lying down basically throughout these sprints. So I wanted a audiobook so I didn't have to physically hold my head up, which is already costing me effort at this point in time. And this was one that was an audiobook. And what I didn't know is that part of, I guess, the depression is because this is a protagonist who is diagnosed with a chronic illness, which is potentially a little bit more difficult for me to read about because that hits close to home, but we will see. It's supposed to be very funny, actually, so we will see whether I also consider that. But so far, I really like the writing style. It's very fluent, and indeed, it is quite funny, so hopefully it will stay like that. Hey Jess, going to be a bit of a ghost wolf in chat, but I'm excited to get things done today. Yes, no worries for being a ghost wolf. I'm happy you're here. Hello, 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 hello. Ahoy there, I'm running late after prepping some compost for my chili plant seedlings and then making dinner. Probably not going to read today, nice, but still be somewhat productive during the sprints. What are you going to do, or is it a secret? Hello, how are you? Yeah, neck pain, sadly, but and unfortunately, like it's going back to where it was on Tuesday, where it's like just burning, It's like the muscles are burning. They're not just sore, they're like really just like on fire. Very annoying. Hello, hey, hey. Hello, welcome. I am currently tackling the Sword of Kaigan, and I'm some 114 pages in so far. I mean, that means that you're really flying through it, and which I'm happy about because it is definitely a book you can fly through. It's just like I wouldn't want to make like the assumption that that was going to happen, but I'm happy that it's definitely the case for you. I need to read 56 pages every day to finish in time for the Howling Pack Book Club event a week on Saturday. You've got this. And even if you don't, like, I know you want to be there for the live show, but you can always still rewatch it if it doesn't end up happening. I will have to rewatch it because I cannot be there, sadly. I'm still reading The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, so I'm going to try and make some progress on that tonight. I am assuming that now you've got a little bit more of a grasp on it, right? Because in the beginning you were kind of unsure. Hello. Hi, and good evening. I'm halfway through Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune, and I'm loving it. It will be a 5-star. Perfect. I'm going to be reading Cloud Cuckoo Land. I hope I won't fall asleep. Have you been reading it already? Is that why you say that? Or is it just that you're really super tired? I read All the Lights We Cannot See. I wasn't in love with it the way that most people are, and I cannot really remember whether it was like a gripping writing style or not. I'm not feeling well today. May try to read some Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm about 25% in. I will be going back to my Chinese web novel, Clear and Muddy Loss of Love. That was a weird pronunciation of love. Starting chapter 41 out of 303. That's also one that you can kind of like read across a whole year almost, just like a chapter a day. And then actually you have quite some days off in that case compared to War and Peace. I'm reading Wonderland. I'm 60% in the book and I would like to finish it today. Nice. I have a tweak in my neck, probably from changing pillow. I have been sleeping in like the weirdest positions over the past few days just to try and stretch out certain body parts that are like giving me ache. Like my side has been really hurting me. So I've been lying like on a pillow to try and kind of stretch part of this out. But yeah. I'm currently reading Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I read The Trial by him, but I don't know whether I want to give another Kafka a go. I was quite bored with that. I have to finish my abstract. Deadline is tomorrow, and I need to add some references and make it shorter to fit the guidelines. Good luck on that. Yes, Metamorphosis. Sword of Kaigen is a quick and easy read. I'm flying through it much quicker than I was with Assassin's Apprentice, which was completely fabulous but much denser. Yeah. I'm also making a note of every series I've started since I started reading again 4 years ago and deciding whether or not to DNF ones that I haven't finished yet. Yeah, that's also nice to do. I still have a few that are like on my list, whereas I'm like, will I even actually go to the effort of reading them? Or if I read them, I need to kind of start from the beginning. So should I still be counting them as like ongoing? Because it's basically a series that I have to restart. Well, I haven't read much since. Okay, 9.5 hour workdays will do that to a person. But I slept 10 hours last night and slept through my alarm. So I should be able to read a bit tonight. Okay, hoping that it didn't cause too many issues to sleep through your alarm. Not reading now, watching the Teen Wolf movie. So it was a movie that came out because I saw some stuff about Teen Wolf, but I think I only watched the first 2, maybe 3 seasons back in the day. So I definitely won't be watching that because then I need to rewatch the entire series, I guess. I'm only 20 pages in, so can't say anything yet, but I've been sleeping really badly this week, so I'm just super tired. I was not expecting the modernness of Sword of Kaigen, if I'm honest. It just hit a Batman-style scene with superheroes. Yeah, but I feel like I was also not expecting it to be modern because I don't hear anybody talking about that. But then on the other hand as well, like because the culture that you're following or the town that you're following is so traditional in its ways, it's for the most part it doesn't really feel like like an urban fantasy or something like that. It's like a day's job. Sorry. Took a few days vacation since it's a little boring at the moment, hoping to power through that part now. Luckily, I have a lot of flexibility with my work hours and I can make up for that overtime I did the last couple of days. So sleeping in wasn't too bad. Nice. I was also surprised with the modern stuff, but I still like it so far. I'm also around 25% in Sword of Kaigen. Yeah, it surprised me definitely. And at first I was like, oh no, is that gonna bother my enjoyment of it? But no, in the end, I did quite enjoy it. There are certain things that I like less about Sword of Kaigen, but overall, it's one of the most positive experiences with a book I've had in 2022. So once I finally get around to editing my best books of 2022 video, then you will actually see me talking about it and my experience with it. But yeah, still need to do that. And I'm still not feeling like filming or editing, though I've scheduled this weekend as a filming weekend, so we'll see. After the 5th season, all books don't get to that standard, so recommendations are very welcome. I mean, it's difficult for 5th season because it is very unique. And so I guess like if you like its structural work and stuff like that, then it's going to be difficult to come up with a recommendation. Plus, I'm really bad at recommending stuff like other stuff. I found that they blended the modern stuff well with the magical. Yeah, exactly. I liked that as well. And I think in spite of it being such a big book, it is really fast paced because it reads like a movie, in my opinion. I could imagine so much That is the perfect recommendation. If you like Fifth Season and Nothing Compares, then read The Obelisk Gate. But here we go for the first reading sprint. See you guys in 40 minutes. So I read some 30 pages, I think. Not entirely sure where I started, but I am on page 76 now. Actually 77, but really at the top of 77. Oh, my hair. Um, but oh, my neck, Jesus. Let's see where we were. Olive Gate's recommendation planned for February. So you're gonna do one a month, I assume then? So week one book that's enjoyable enough, don't want to get into a slump. I read Pachinko after fifth season and it was my second favorite book of the year. Pachinko, I really enjoyed, but there was just like, I don't know, I expected so much out of it and it didn't end up being, like I didn't end up being as invested as I wished I was gonna be. Hello, just got back from work, eating dinner now. Nice. Buffy also says hello. Read 14 pages. Kafka's stories are mostly allegorical. There's an underlying meaning behind his story. Yeah. Metamorphosis is the one where he like wakes up as a cockroach, right? Hi there, I was working and then walking the dog. Hope I made it at least for one more sprint. Yeah, we have two more sprints to go. I'll be reading A Heart So Fierce and Broken for the Disabled Rep Prompts. Is that one of the Bridget Kemmerer books? It's good to know that there's a disability prompt because I've basically not been looking at any of the prompts. And I think at this point in time, I'm really just going to do a sort of like, did I end up inadvertently completing Be Sure Tom? And with my current reads, the disability prompt would also be finished. You don't seem to get comfortable. Wait, you don't seem to get uncomfortable with your headset on all the time. My unit for work is old and tatty, and the foam has disintegrated. I often end up in 2-hour training sessions. This one is pretty okay. Like, my ears don't really like headset at all, and so I do sometimes have to like take it off just because, like, they will hurt. It's not like because of any sort of warmth or because it doesn't fit my ear shell perfectly or something like that. But it just like I don't know, it's my ears just don't love pressure on them. But so far so good. Read 5 chapters. This was quite a fun time. Nice. Better meows than the kitty timer. I don't know. Buffy has a very annoying meow, in my opinion. Read 20 pages and I might have fallen asleep. I read 20 pages of Gardens of the Moon. Oh, I didn't realize you were reading it. So, any plans to binge read them all, or is this for a read along or something like that? Are you far in? I don't know whether I will ever read Gardens of the Moon or any Malazan book because I don't know whether that's like it would probably be too dense for me. Probably not really enjoy it all that much. Yeah, noisy little bastards though. I love Kafka. Yeah, the Curse Breaker series. Yeah. I read 20 pages of Wonderland and I really enjoy reading it. I think I might know who did it, but I also have a feeling it's someone else, but not sure who. Like, that's always the case, right? You sometimes think, like, I'm pretty sure I'm onto the right track. However, what can definitely also be possible is that I'm completely on the wrong track. I made a very cheesy macaroni and cheese. Started the sauce with a roux, added milk, then dumped 3 different cheeses in to make a thick and decadent cheese sauce. Nom nom nom. Like, do you guys also only have macaroni and cheese, like in America? Like in Belgium, the standard is macaroni with ham and cheese, which means that I can never have it when I'm like out in a restaurant. Whereas that would be like in the US at least, it was like an easy vegetarian meal for me because then it was just like, okay, I know that that won't have any meat in it. Whereas here, I can never get the veggie version because it always has ham. I eat dinner and need to wash my hair now. Then I'm watching a 25-minute long deep dive into the newly released firmware for one of my big boy stores. 25 minutes. It went up a major version from version 1.4 to 2.0. Ow, yeah. I love cheesy macaroni. Yeah, there's a macaroni that I make, macaroni with cheddar cheese and mustard, that I really, really love. The only thing is that I always feel like it's missing a vegetable, and I still need to find like the perfect vegetable for it. I've made it with a few different types of vegetables. I think the most successful one was the sweet potato one. I have read a chapter in Priory and called my mom to complain to her about my headache. Now I need to find dinner. I was tempted to join the Malaz and read along, but I want to read Stormlight and Wheel of Time more, so maybe someday. Yeah, that would be like Stormlight and Wheel of Time is already quite a bit to combine, of course, because Stormlight are humongous books, and I'm not entirely sure whether Wheel of Time, like I think they're still a humongous, but they're probably more like the 800, 900 page range. But even then, it's a humongous page counts to be combining. So add to that another Malazan book, and then, yeah, I can absolutely understand why you're like, no, thank you. I will not go for that. I had the same opinion on Malazan, but so far I'm really enjoying it. Doesn't read that difficult, 6 chapters in. Okay, nice. It's surprising they don't have veggie meat as an option in restaurants. I mean, they often have a few veggie meals, but just not the macaroni one. What they often have here as a vegetarian meal is like cannelloni with ricotta and spinach, which is nice, but it's like the standard vegetarian meal in most restaurants. So almost everywhere you can get that dish. And I'm like, yeah, please, some variety, people. I don't like warm ham, so I get that. Yeah. It didn't even occur to me to bung in anything other than the pasta and the cheese. Yeah, here it's just like the standard. I don't know, like, because macaroni and cheese, I don't think is a traditional Italian dish neither, right? I don't think they actually make it in Italy. So where does it come from? Who was the first culture to create it, and where did that ham get added into the mix? In Germany, you put ham in every single otherwise vegetarian meal. Yeah, I think in Germany, the one thing that I always ate was like Käsespätzle, which is basically also just like a cheese pasta type thing, but it's like specific pasta. Like we also had that type of pasta a lot, I think, back home when I was young, but continued in a post-apocalyptic comic book. It's very dark and sad, but it's just what I needed for now. I actually thought of a recommendation for you in the meantime, which is The Seventh Perfection by Daniel Polanski, which is a novella. So it's like short. So even if you don't end up enjoying it, or if it doesn't end up being a good recommendation, it's also not too much of a like effort to get to. And that is a fantasy book, which basically is told in a very interesting structure because it's told in dialogues. However, you're only given one half of the dialogue. Basically, you never hear what the main character says. You only hear the answers from the people that our main character is talking about to. And so through that, you kind of have to figure out the story and what our main character is trying to figure out and what type of questions she's asking. So that one I really, really enjoyed a whole lot, and I found to be like a very unique fantasy, the same way that I consider fifth season to be really unique because of its play with structure. I love it when you can't guess who did it from the start. Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I mean, I don't read like thriller, but sometimes when there's like a mystery plot element to a fantasy book, I'm like, I feel like it's so obvious. So I'm always happy when it then turns out that it was like pushing you in that direction and that actually another direction was intended. I've been a naughty boy this week. My Amazon day is Friday when normally everything is supposed to be delivered. This week they decided to send stuff early. They're still coming tomorrow though. I have a lot of stuff coming as well, but mainly for the cats. I need to have everything prepared so that when I leave on holiday, somebody can come and feed them and clean their litter box. Since they're coming tomorrow, I figured I might as well add a few extras. Absolutely. I love witloaf in the oven. Can't come up with a name for witloaf. I think it's like endives, but I don't know what the difference is then with andouille and witloaf. But I don't like that. but my grandfather was a wheatloaf farmer, and none of his grandchildren like wheatloaf. I do like it with leek instead of endive, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of wheatloaf. This is a problem caused by working on my library in the Storygraph. I keep finding gaps in my collection. I may have mentioned discovering that I had books 2 and 3 of one series for some bizarre reason. This is what I found. The exact origin of macaroni and cheese is unknown, though it most likely hails from Northern Europe, with the earliest known recorded recipe being scribbled down in 1769. Wow. Or I have books 1, 3, and 4 of a series of 8. Belgium, yeah, and Endive is a translation, yeah. Or a favorite trilogy actually has 5 books. Who knew? Not I. That sounds so interesting. I don't actually know what that's referred to anymore because I was saying something, but now I don't remember. Whitloaf, chicory. Ah, chicory. Okay. So endives is then andevy, and then chicory is whitloaf. I don't actually, as I said, know the difference between endives and chicory clearly. So who knows? Thank you for the thank you for the recommendation. It sounds really interesting, so I'll search for it next sprint. Yeah, I have it behind me on the shelves, but I did not go and collect it, and I don't actually. Yeah, okay, it's very close to me, but I'm definitely not doing a repeat of last week because my neck will not allow it. For the translation, Whitlow is Chicory like the Pokemon Chikorita. Okay, does she also look like Chicory? I love the in-depth macaroni cheese discussion with learnings and history. We learn something new every one of these particular sprints. The seventh perfection. I might take that recommendation myself. Yeah, it was really like a chance, like a complete coincidence to some extent because it was one of the first books that I requested on NetGalley. And to be fair, at that point in time, I was really just like looking at covers that I liked and like requesting stuff based on that. And so I was really pleasantly surprised when I read that book and I absolutely enjoyed it. It's like probably my most successful arc, and it was like the very first one that I ever read. But I do have another Daniel Polanski on my TBR now, and I'm excited to see because I like based on the premise, it does not sound like it is structurally different or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to see whether he also plays with structure or form or anything like that within that one, the way that he did within that novella. That favorite novella I mentioned, favorite trilogy I mentioned is very old, so getting books 4 and 5 is not easy nowadays. I found an omnibus book which has book 4 and bought a used copy of book 5. Yeah, was it like a case of them adding 2 books later down the line? Because I also have that for certain series that I've read, like the Sabriel one, the Old Kingdom trilogy. At some point in time, they then added a 4th book, and I was like, sorry, it's been over a decade since I read Sabriel. I'm not gonna continue now because I didn't need a continuation to that series. We definitely love talking about food. That is definitely absolutely true. I'm making dinner at the moment. Enjoy. I was a little bit like I'm gonna say I'm a little bit lazy today, but I've been a little bit lazy for like 2 weeks already. I really need to go to the grocery store, but this weekend I don't really have any plans except for like going to the cinema in the evening, so I actually have time to go to this supermarket because I always go on Saturdays, and when I cannot go on Saturdays, I find myself really not being motivated to do it after work on a weekday, so I end up not doing it. But yeah, I have like on my way back from work, I bought a quiche, so I was able to just like put that in the oven and enjoy that. So, and yesterday I had takeout, which was amazing because it's a vegetarian food chain, and they have like a kebab, which is like amazing. I actually still have some of the sweet potato fries left, but I don't know how well I'm going to be able to reheat those. I hope the spine of the secondhand book hasn't been mangled and broken in 20 places. And that is definitely a possibility. But maybe you'll learn to appreciate the beauty of a broken spine. Endive is andouille, which is kind of a mix between green coal and slaw. And chicory is actually grown from a root after the green coal, from the root after the green coal, and it's planted in the dark to get the white, crispy crops. Yeah, me being a descendant of chicory farmers and knowing nothing about it. I mean, I know there's a difference between ground chicory and water chicory, and like my mother is very much a snob who looks down upon water chicory, but in supermarkets they mainly sell water chicory because it's much cheaper to produce apparently. Last week the full of one conversation, now the Whitlow and Dive chicory thing. What will be next week? Yeah, who knows? You can never anticipate what's going to happen. I've read this trilogy several times and don't remember thinking it needed a continuation, but I need to know what happens now the books have manifested into existence. I now know they exist. Yeah, I am okay with letting go of those types of things, specifically because I need to reread mainly in order to be able to continue most of the times. I hope the spine is fine. I'm really bad at knowing what I want to eat, so I go to the grocery store every 2 days. Yeah, I think that could be a possibility, but I'm also always procrastinating on it, so it doesn't end up happening. But part of the reason why I procrastinate, of course, is also because I don't know what I want to eat. But it works best for me if I just like buy food for a week, and then typically I just spend more than a week with that food. But that works best for me because then I have some sort of a plan, and I have to make a plan at that moment in time. But there are definitely like certain dishes that just get made all the time because they're the easy ones that I know by heart. I'm chuckling at you, grinning at appreciating the beauty of a broken spine. I will be very happy if you get a broken spine and adore it. Broken spines? No, they're beautiful, guys. It's a sign of love and appreciation. I don't mind broken spines either. It happens. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Yeah, I intentionally break a lot of my spines. Yes, I will be continuing these weekly sprints into next month. So the idea is just to do them always, forever. But so next week I will be doing some, but the week after that I'm not because I will be on holiday. And so I will not be doing them from Spain. We all need to start cooking on a weekly Thursday basis so we can have in-depth food conversations here. Yeah, like first sprint is just like us cooking together. Wait. Okay, the snob about the chicories. Yes, I love cooking, so I do it almost every day. I don't mind cooking once I do it. It's just like, as with everything in life, I procrastinate. Hello, good evening. I batch cook so I can make it last through the week so I don't have to cook every day of the week. Yeah. Intentional spine breaker, I am in pain. Happy you're going to my country. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to Canary Islands, but it is officially Spain. It's kind of unfair you won't take us to Spain. I mean, I'm already, first of all, I definitely won't be doing that because I'm not taking my laptop with me. But also, I would probably be so confused about time zones because the time zone in Canary Islands is different. So probably I'd be like so stressed about getting at the right time that it's also not worth it. Intentionally breaking spines. Yeah, you just like start and you triggering content for people out there. I'm sorry. And you just go like that. And then you break the spine like that. And it makes it so much easier to hold the book, which is the main reason for intentionally breaking spines. I first saw Brit from basically Brit to it, and since then I have not looked back. Cook together with Muse Bookworm every Thursday at 6 p.m. GB, 7 p.m. CET. Love cooking together sprints. Yeah, I'm definitely not doing that because my kitchen is a mess. To some extent, it would be a good idea because that would mean that I would have like social pressure to clean the kitchen. But I'm also definitely not going to do that. The spine, no. Yeah, sorry, it was triggering content, I'm sure, to see me just break the spine like that. But yeah, I like it. The one thing that's like, what you could also do is like hold it like that while reading, but that is also not comfortable. I know people do that, but it's like, first of all, it makes the broken spine worse, but I'm also just like, it's not comfortable to hold it like that. So, sprint number 2, here we go. See you guys in 40 minutes. right. How did that one treat you guys? I am actually not really sure how much I read because I was playing a game on the phone as well, and so I didn't really check how far I got. But so we'll have to see next sprint how far I get into this one. But there's no real like rush with this or anything like that. I have not really finished. I was gonna say I finished my February TBR, but that my January TBR, but that's not true because I still have to read. I still have to finish Feet in Silence, but I'm planning to do that um, during. Why am I? I'm planning to finish that during my commute tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow evening. So this is basically like an extra book for this month. So there's definitely no more rush. I finished what I wanted to, and also I think like if I check the phone now, I only have like 5 hours left to listen to it, and so it'll be like 4 hours after this sprint. So definitely more than enough time to finish it still this month. Maybe even another book. Where were we? With bigger books, the big book tends to break eventually. Yeah, definitely. Like with a big book, even if you try to avoid it with like a big mass market paperback, for example, it will eventually happen. Um, but even with a big book, like cracking the spine doesn't always make it that much more comfortable just because there's so many pages that just holding the pages can still be painful. But then it definitely becomes a necessity. But even with smaller books, I love breaking the spine. That hurts. I try to keep them healthy nowadays, but really tough. Yeah. Like I used to do that as well and be like, oh, let's just keep it open like this. Like, oh no, the section that's like closest to the margin is a little bit more difficult to read, and you're like trying to keep it open as little as possible so that you don't accidentally break it. It is not going to fall apart. The way that things fall apart is what my sister would do is instead of using a bookmark, she would just like put the book upside down, open on the table or something like that, and that is how Harry Potter 2 got broken. Yeah, so that's me, because in the first minute or so of my sprint, I was like, where is my phone? Because for my audiobook, I need to have my phone. And Fate was lying on it. These 40 minutes go fast. Recover from the anguish of the book's fine torture, wash the dishes, finish my new firmware deep dive episodes, spin past the Discord, grab a chocolate bar, read some pages. Nice. Chocolates. Was just reading of a guy fearing his laptop was busted. He was doing diagnostics, reading log files, etc., only to discover his cat was sitting on his wireless keyboard in the other room. Lol. Yeah, cats love to sabotage technology. I made spaghetti aglio e olio and watched some videos, but I'm feeling a bit better now. That's really very nice. Spaghetti aglio e olio. I was falling asleep, so I made some coffee and read 14 pages, and Buffy has her claw in my hands. Leave. Okay. I don't know whether you saw that grab of her claws or whether that was just out of frame, but somebody does not want me to let. Somebody does not want me to get my hand back. Another fourth chapter, it's getting boring again. Time for a little bit of a break then. Almost done with the Teen Wolf movie. Nice. I would be very impressed if you had finished your February TBR. Yeah, definitely, because my February TBR only has 3 books on it. So in that sense, it's very doable. But 2 of those books together form 1,500 pages, or even more, 1,700 probably. So yeah, that would have been really top notch. But this is not going to happen. I'm not even sure whether it would happen on holiday. I'm going to take them, all 3 of them, on holiday, but I only want to get one of the big books done, and then hopefully also the small one, and then we'll see what happens with the 3rd book. But in any case, if I come back with those two out of the 3 already done, then February is going to look like a very nice mood reading month. I read 23 pages of Wonderland, and I might be right after all. Okay. I struggle a bit with some of the unusual names in the sort of Kaigen. I'm not most Koronu and I'm a Jijaka from are words I had to double check my spelling just now. Yeah, those types of terminology I also just like I don't necessarily like read, you know. I kind of know, but I don't really say like in my mind. I'm not really actually figuring out the pronunciation or like how exactly the term is. So indeed, if I want to refer back to it, I have to look it up because I'm like, yeah, it's some sort of word with a J, but I never fully committed it into my mind. I have about 40 to finish my book. Nice. Still 110 pages left, so a lot can still happen. Yeah, definitely. I only try not to break the spine if the spine looks good. Yeah. I am stabbed all over by this book, Spine Torture. Fate sabotaging you, living up to her namesake. Yeah, absolutely. She's usually the good slayer in the household here, but sometimes she has her ways. Chocolate bar is called Peppermint Swirls from the Chocolate Society, who I think are my current favorite artisanal chocolate maker. This is a dark and white chocolate flavor. I like peppermint with chocolate, but like if I put peppermint oil in my hot chocolate, then Buffy definitely wants to steal my hot chocolate. So it's always like a little bit of a forbidden fruit to some point in this household. I've seen folks on Dominish Books Discord showing off their February, I cannot pronounce this word, February, even when I'm putting attention to it, that R, February, do you even pronounce it R? February, I'm just not going to pronounce it. I haven't even considered mine yet as I race towards completing my January commitment reads. I'm so glad I'm not the only person that doesn't read the fantasy terms. I always just glance over it, and then when filming vlog updates, I never know what anything is called. Yeah, then you just go like, you have people who can do this and people who can do that, and then like, I mean, nobody understands that terminology neither when you're doing a video, so it doesn't make any sense to use it. I don't bother with much with the actual terms. They be benders, yo. I do that too. Not fully committing it into my mind describes what I mean by integration. When it's all in my head, I'm fully integrated and just know what's going on. I am not reading this comment out loud because you've already heard me struggle with that more than enough. I watched enough anime with different clans and terms, etc., to not be bothered by the terms at all. I mean, the names are easy for me for sort of Kaigen because they're all like Japanese inspired names. And so, like, I read a lot of Japanese literature. It's really not that difficult for me to grasp that. Also, I watched a lot of Japanese, I want to say Japanese K drama, but K drama is Korean, of course. So, Japanese dramas. Back in the day, so I do know the sound of Japanese. And then there are a few names that are more like Korean. That's a little bit more like that's not really a language I have as much familiarity with. And I don't really remember whether there were any Chinese names in there because the Ranganese are Chinese. And so at some point in time, you have a transcription of something they say, and that's clearly a transcription coming from Mandarin Chinese. But I don't know whether we have a character with a Chinese name. When I was whizzing past the Grimoire Discord earlier for the Assassin's Apprentice discussion, one of the main folks over there was advising a newcomer not to read the synopsis on the back of books. I've heard that the synopsises for the Robin Hobb books are quite spoilery. I typically don't tend to read the backs of books, or I read them, but like when I'm figuring out whether a book is for me or not. And so by the time that I actually pick it up, I have forgotten the synopsis, so that's fine by me. That's correct. They are very spoilery. Yeah, I've heard that as well. How do you pick out new books of interest? Do you have a process, booktube websites, word of mouth, browsing lists? Difficult question. Partly watching a booktube video and hearing people talking about it. I also, on Instagram, for example, there are certain tags that I'm following. So tags that I follow are Japanese literature and translated literature. So my recommendations for those are coming through Instagram, mainly just like cover or a picture that really sparks my interest, and then I'll look into that book. But mainly, I guess it's just gonna be like BookTube, even though there are a lot of books that spark an interest in me that I don't necessarily see people on BookTube talking about, and that's mainly like literary fiction because I don't personally follow a lot of literary fiction creators, and at the moment I'm not watching a lot of BookTube, and so I'm not often getting around to their videos neither. So I don't know. I don't always know where my recommendations come from, but I'm guessing probably Instagram then for those. Doesn't matter the origin of the names, I will forget them all equally. Wait, the Ranganese had names? So I don't know whether there was a Ranganese who had a name. I just know that the Ranganese speak Mandarin Chinese because in the big action sequence in the middle of the novel, there's one line or two lines which are transcribed of like hearing a Ranganese person say something, and then I was like, oh, it's Chinese. This person also advised not looking at fan art. Yeah, fan art. I mean, to be fair, fan art. You need to explain to me who it is that is like portrayed in the art for me to be like, okay, right. Yes, I understand now. But for somebody who sees the art of a book, knows it's for a specific book, it might indeed give you indications about some things that are to come. For example, let's say you were reading, I cannot give any examples without spoiling, of course, but let's make a fully fictional account. But let's say you were reading a book in which, like, at the end of the book, dragons become part of the story. If you then watch art in which a dragon is shown, you will already know that a dragon is going to come, So I think for all fantasy or all books, maybe even like artwork, fan art can really be spoilery. Yeah, the wiki page definitely. Like I don't do the wiki page even for Brandon Sanderson, even though I'm more or less up to date with most of his works. I don't often read any synopsis these days. You hear tags and I hear keywords from folks on BookTube that capture my interest. Then I just haul it. I don't bother delving too deeply. Yeah, I do read synopsis, but also I don't always like my brain isn't always taking in every single section of that synopsis because especially with fantasy, sometimes you're just like, wait, what? Because most of those synopses just like blend into one. I do not ever read reviews. Uh, I watch review videos sometimes. So what I actually watched the review video of yesterday was the 11th Cycle, and I watched the review video by Dominish from Dominish Books, and that's mainly because I know that it deals with disability, and I wanted to see whether that was popping into Dominish's review, and it didn't talk about it at all. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not there. I'm just curious about the disability representation within it because it's seen like it's mentioned as a trigger warning, realistic depiction of disability, which I always find to be a very weird trigger warning. I get what they're meaning, but it's like it's formulated so weird. It's like, yeah, why is it triggering to have a real life depiction of disability? But I'm guessing it's talking about the mental toll that disability can have, but there must be a better way to formulate that than the content warning, trigger warning for real life depiction of disability. Yeah, okay, that's actually a content like positive for me, but okay. I usually pick up books when people say read this, but not overhype them or go into too many details. Yeah, hype is an issue. Many of your book choices are quite different to mine, so some of my hauls that originate from you are fairly unusual for me, hence interest in where you source them from. Yeah, I don't always. Yeah, I think a lot, like definitely a lot of my more like out there choices come from like Instagram because that will be all of my translated literature, and then like book prices and things like that. So in March, I'm gonna hopefully have time to do the International Booker Prize. Um, But yeah, I cannot fool like I don't really think about where most of my book things come from, but it must be from BookTube and Instagram because it's not like I check out like literary journals or whatever or go to the bookstore all that often. I love review videos after reading a book. Yeah, that's also a very nice thing to do to check like people's opinions about it. It's also something that I definitely do when I'm like stuck in my understanding of what my reading experience was like. You know, sometimes you read a book and I'm like, I really don't really know whether I now enjoyed this book or not. And then it can help to listen to other people talk about it to kind of give voice to your feelings. I do a similar thing with synopsis, but I can understand how frustrating that can be for authors when people criticize a book for things it's not advertised as. Sometimes things I read, see, hear stick in my mind when it comes time to read the book, but I like things to fade away, so I'm going in blind. I just want enough details to interest me, but none of the details. Too many reviews seem to go into too much depth, more than I want to know about. That's always the difficulty, of course, with a review is that, yes, realistically speaking, most of the people who like there are two audiences for review. It's the people who haven't read the book yet and who might be interested in it, and it's basically kind of what you're most often addressing because most book review videos are spoiler free. Yet at the same time, there are a lot of most of the views for a video like that will still be coming from people who have actually read it because a lot of people are also avoiding any type of review video for a book that they haven't read. So they're kind of walking a thin line there between the two people that will watch or stumble across a video like that. Um, so yeah, how deep do you go? How many details do you give? A lot of times also when you're then doing the review, you're like, there are specific things about this book that I just want to talk about or that are just so interesting to dive into, but I cannot because of spoilers. And that is also, I at some point still want to do the disability and fantasy episodes for Master of Sorrows. That's going to be really difficult because one of the main things I love about that is I absolutely need to go into spoilers for that one. And with Elantris, it was easy to go into spoilers because I knew so many people have read Elantris, so it's fine. But with Master of Sorrows, I won't be able to do that. So I will have to figure out how to structure that video so that it's interesting for people who have not read it yet. And I can still talk about the things that I want to talk about with that book. Books tend to sit on my shelf long enough that I forget most details, which is great. It's fun going in fairly blind. I mean, my memory is so bad that they don't even need to be on there for such a long time for me to forget. I usually see that phrase more like depiction of X or ableism and not as a blanket warning for a disabled character. That sounds very weird. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just like read a little bit weird for me when I read that trigger warning. But he also had like a fundraiser, I think, for good cause having to do with disability, and then he was explaining how important disability was for this story. So it does make me interested to read the book. It's just that I wanted to like see some more perspectives on it, but I think I might have to look at like Goodreads review to get more of a grip on it. One fun thing I'm experiencing at the moment is the work I'm doing editing my books on Storygraph to tidy up the data. I keep seeing you pop up beside the book and I see your rating. Nice. I like wrap-ups because you give a bit of information about the book, but not too much. That's how I find new books. After I finish a book, I love watching discussions or reviews about it. Yeah, I don't do it for every book, but I do like it for some. Maybe you can just do a spoiler-free section and do the rest in spoilers. Yeah, it's just that I'll have to kind of figure out how far to go in the spoiler-free section because I do also want to talk about, to give enough of an explanation about why this is a positive experience with disability representation without giving any examples of why it is so. Master of Sorrows is split with a non-spoiler chat at the start, so folks can stop watching at the 50% point. I see that style on some channels. Yes. final sprints coming up now, guys. So enjoy it. Make it a good one. Hello. So those were another 2 hours. Oh no, sorry. Buffy has gotten her paw. Come on. Yeah. Technical difficulties. Buffy had gotten her paw like stuck in the wire, and so it was like all around her paw. And then, of course, she didn't immediately panic, but yeah, definitely she didn't allow me to quietly remove it. Chocolate in the books. I hope you enjoyed your chocolates. My first time in sprint was your first ever live sprint last summer. I still find them odd things even now. True, true. If you explain these things to like people who aren't on BookTube, they're like, "Are you what reading together? But how?" Just past chapter 54 out of 303. Very happy with my progress. Nice. I came back in with 1 minute 50 to go, so I'm reading for the last little bit as you're over there on my telebox reading too. So odd. Yeah, I have 2 more minutes to listen to in this chapter as well after we end this live stream. And I am actually very happy because I read about 100 pages in it today. So pretty much at the halfway point now. So very nice progress. Finished your movie. Nice. 60 pages this time and played with Tesla. Nice. Read another 30 pages. I might read some more. It always takes me a while to get into it, but I'm on a roll now. Yeah. I'm just gonna do like the 2 remaining minutes of this particular chapter and then my chapter of War and Peace for today. Part of me feels like I read a chapter this morning, but I definitely didn't because I'm at the start of a new part. And I think that is indeed where I'm supposed to be. Like, what was the previous chapter? 25, yeah. So 26 should be today, which is like up until this point in time, based on the number of the chapter, I could see whether I was on time or not because as I just said, previous chapter was 25, which of course I read on day 25, but now we are moving into the next book. So we're starting back to chapter 1 in book 2. So yeah, I can no longer count on that. Just have to hope that I should just stick to one chapter a day. But this past few, like 5 days or so, I've really been struggling with it a little bit. I got distracted on the book Dominish's book Discord, talking about our shared love of Shohreh Aghdashloo in The Expanse. I'm really not entirely sure whether that's how you pronounce it, but that's what I'm going with. So very little actual reading got done, but we love her so much. I mean, it's also very nice to take Discord breaks. I have not really been paying much attention to Discord the last week, neither. But it's also like I turned off the notifications for Discord, so I need to actively go into it. And clearly, I have not really been feeling in much of a Discord mood over the past week because I'm pretty sure that there are quite a few days in which I didn't even open Discord at any point throughout the day. Buffy is over her little trauma of having her paw stuck in my microphone. I read 28 pages and I don't know who done it or they all work together. So I guess the prediction you had and that it looked like it was gonna come true has turned out not to be true. 20 pages and I have finished the comic, in total about 200 pages or so. I'll be up to date on that series, then I'll try to find a copy of the book you recommended. Yeah, they definitely do have copies. I think I got mine through bol.com probably. I have not managed to read much this evening, so I am behind my 56 pages per day schedule. I don't consider myself someone that lacks focus, but perhaps not tonight. I mean, it also kind of depends. I don't know whether you read more on the weekends compared to like weekdays, because of course in weekdays you have like less time. So perhaps it's also just like not as realistic to set the same page goal for every single day. Perhaps it's more realistic to be like, okay, On a weekday, I'll be happy if I get to 40 pages, for example, and then on the weekends, I just need to read more. Just a thought. I keep changing my theory. It's fun. Yeah, I guess that's part of my problem with thriller or mystery is that I don't necessarily make a lot of theories because yeah, I don't like crime because I just don't care who did it. So that's my main problem with these types of stories. It's why I don't read a lot of like murder mysteries. It's because I don't really care about solving the crime, and that's definitely is the main objective of a crime novel. I think the main things, like I never really watched a lot of crime TV shows, but my dad and my mother and my sister are obsessed. So of course I kind of secondhand watched a lot of that. But the main reasons why I enjoyed it, or like the main things I get out of those are like the banter or the relationship between like the detective and his sidekick, more or less. In the days before BookTube, I would read less during the week. Post BookTube, I now read a lot more in the evenings than I ever did before. You folks have changed my routine. Yeah. So for me now, I don't know. I am gathering data, but I think it's more or less the same at the moment. I have restrictions on how much I'm allowed to read during the week, and I don't have those restrictions for the weekends. But I think at this point in time, if I check the data, then yeah, my total amount of pages on weekdays at the moment is an average of 81, and in the weekend it's 83. So it's actually really similar at this point in time, which is nice. When you have an Amazon delivery, do you like to track the delivery driver? They're 8 stops away from you, 6 stops, you're the next stop. Do we like that game? I don't know whether it happens like that for us. Most times when the Amazon driver comes, I'm actually not at home, and I only see like an hour afterwards that he like indicated that he has a problem with the delivery. Interesting. I'm just trying to solve the plot of every single book I read. I don't visualize, so I need to get my entertainment from something else, which is trying to figure stuff out. Yeah, I do that with like fantasy and things like that, trying to figure out like in which direction an author is trying to steer the story, or like what's it's like trying to figure out the foreshadowing and stuff like that. But so for a crime or something like that, yeah, I just really don't care about that. And I do find that in general as well, like in my workplace, for example, when something goes wrong, I'm not really concerned with figuring out who made the mistake. I'm more concerned with figuring out how to solve it, I guess. For me, a good mystery should not end with a solution that a character did it, who's mentioned only 2 or 3 times in the whole book at most. That really doesn't work for me, so we can't solve it ourselves. Yeah, understandable. I'm not keen on waiting for deliveries to arrive. I was discussing this with a work friend today after I got a knock on the door during a call. Yeah, I have a delivery of cat food coming tomorrow and I will be in the office. So I'm just hoping that they just leave it in the hallway, or that they like ring the bell of one of my neighbors and leave it there. Because if they're going to bring it to the post office, then I'm screwed, because then like I mean, I really am screwed because it's like a humongous bag. So I am hoping that it is the post guy who's going to deliver it, and this guy knows me and our building, so I'm sure he'll ring somebody else's door. He likes playing the track the delivery driver game. I do it with like takeaway. Same, there are very few authors that can make me care about a mystery. He was saying he got rid of stuff and filled the bookshelf with books and really liked how it looks. So he was wondering how I store everything since I buy the occasional book. Thanks so much for the sprint. So fun. Love the structure so much. Indeed, I am going to be rounding off in 30 seconds. I got an email from my neighbor last night saying they got home to find 2 deliveries for me by their front door. They're number 23 and I'm number 22. And you were home? Because, yeah, for me, that would make sense because, they drop it off at the neighbors when I'm not there, hopefully. But yeah, if you're home, then that's just like weird. Maybe you didn't hear them, but a lot of times I know a lot of stories of people being like, yeah, they say I wasn't home, but I was home all day. Good night, everybody, and see you guys next week. Obviously.